Okay, so today, um, sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. So today, this is what I want. I want to get rid of that. Okay. Today, I had you guys go in your book and take notes. So, I don't know how far you guys got. I'm assuming you guys probably got uh, quite a bit done. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk to you about the body planes, the directions, and the cavities. All right. Um, as our book states, it and I stated yesterday or Monday, the just as we use a map to get to where we need to go, we use and we talk in directional terms. We talk east west, north south. I live north of I-69. Okay, east from Lapeer County, EdTech Center. All right, so you can kind of get an idea of where I'm at. So does our body. We have terms to use for our body. Okay, terms that are used to describe the relationship between one body part and another body part. And we do this so that everyone is on the same playing field, same level playing field. When using these terms, we always talk in relation to the body being in anatomical position. You can see down here, I told you anatomical position is a word that you guys would put on a flashcard. We talked about body planes being imaginary lines drawn through the body. Okay, and then we have directional terms, and they are created by the planes. So we have transverse plane, mid-sagittal or median plane, frontal or coronal plane, and then proximal and distal. And you'll get to know those. Transverse plane is just like it does. It divides the body into top and bottom halves. Top being superior, bottom being inferior. Okay? It gives you an example. The knee is superior to the ankle, but it's inferior to the hip. Okay? Understand that? And I gave you guys an example how people who think they're superior, they think they're above others. All right. There's two other terms to discuss when it comes to this plane, and it's the caudal and the cranial. Cranial means exactly what it says. It means the head. And caudal means body parts located near the sacral region of the spine. So caudal is back here. Okay? Not over here, but caudal's back here. The mid-sagittal or the median plane divides the body into right and left sides. As you can see in this figure here, we have right and left sides, and she is in anatomical position. Body parts close to the midline, close, this would be the midline, are often referred to as medial midline. Okay? Body parts away are often referred to as lateral. Okay, the sides, lateral. You can think of that. I always say, think of if you're a weightlifter, this would be for you, Geritol. You do lateral raises to lift the shoulders, and when you do lateral raises to lift the shoulders, you are moving your arms away from the midline. Okay. Oops. We have the frontal or the coronal plane. Frontal divides the body into a front section and a back section. So this would be this plane. Do you see? Here's the front side of the person, here's the back side of the person, and that's what it does. Okay. Body parts in the front of the plane are called ventral or anterior. These are ventral or anterior. Body parts on the back side are called posterior, or dorsal. And you can think of dorsal as being on a fin, like a dorsal fin on a dolphin. Okay. Proximal or dorsal plane. It should be distal. So that's wrong. It should be proximal or distal plane. Those are two directional terms used to describe location of the extremities, like your arms and legs, because that's what we call our arms and legs, are our extremities, in relation to the main trunk of the body. The main trunk is the point of reference. So body parts that are close to the point of reference, okay, close to the point of reference are called proximal, and body parts that are distant from the point of reference are called distal. So my elbow is proximal and my fingertips would be distal if I were to say that my body point of reference is the trunk. Okay. Describing the relationship. Sorry. Describe the relationship of the wrist and the elbow to the shoulder. Okay. The wrist is distal to my shoulder, where the elbow is proximal because it's closest to the trunk. Okay. The trunk is the body of reference. And then I give you another example down here that you can read. Body cavities. You have body cavities, believe it or not. Body cavities are spaces within the body that contain organs. Okay, and there's two main body cavities. You have a dorsal. Dorsal means what? It means back. You have a dorsal cavity, and you have a ventral or an anterior cavity. Okay, and then we can divide those cavities down even further, and this is where it can get very confusing. Your dorsal or your posterior cavity, okay, is in the back side, and it can be divided into two sections. You have a cranial cavity right here, cranial cavity here, and you have a spinal cavity. The cranial cavity, this is the cranial cavity, the cranial cavity houses your brain. And then your spinal cord, this is your spinal cord, your spinal cavity, and it houses the spinal cord. That is pretty basic. That's as easy as it's going to get for you guys. Okay? Whoops, I'm sorry. Now we have ventral cavities. I separated it down because I didn't know if I could use a highlighter. I didn't know if I could use a highlighter on these things to point. I suppose I would need to be in paint. Ventral cavities are separated into two cavities, right? They're separated into two cavities. We have a thoracic cavity, and then we have an abdominal cavity. Okay? We can further it down, and we can do a pelvic cavity, and you could talk about an abdominal pelvic cavity. Okay? Which is this. It would be this area, abdominal pelvic, because it's the abdomen and the pelvis. Your thoracic cavity, right here, it's the chest, all right? If you are a cardiothoracic surgeon, okay, or a cardiologist, you're going to deal with the thoracic cavity. Shout out to Curtis and to Robert, okay? Shout out to you guys, because you're going to be dealing with the thoracic cavity. Cardiothoracic. Heart is in the chest. Okay? Thoracic cavity located in the chest, and it contains the esophagus. The esophagus comes right down here along with your trachea. Okay? You have bronchi. Bronchi are in each of your lungs. Bronchi. This is a lung, and this is a lung. This is your heart. See, your heart isn't over really here. The heart is more in the center. And then you have large blood vessels. This is a large blood vessel, and this is a large blood vessel. This is your aorta. Whoops. Oh, sorry, Charlie. And the blue one is your vena cava. The blue is the vein. The red is the artery. Okay. And I will stop for right here for today.